Hello?
Hi, Miley. It's Joe. How are you?
Hey, hi Joe, how are you?
Not bad. How we doing?
I am good, I am good. Ah, thank you so much for calling. This is so nice. I've listened to a bunch of the episodes.
Oh, good stuff.
And you know what, I'm so behind on everything. I was like, oh, I had no idea if you had a podcast. And you're so good.
Oh, I appreciate that. I thank you very
I'm
much.
really, really impressed because like you like your questions are great and you let people speak and you just have a real talent as an interviewer and a host that I did not know. But I mean, I don't know you that much. So I'm like, oh, maybe
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good.
yeah. Well, it's kind of like after you do a lot of interview, you get interviewed a lot over the years yourself, and you people talk to you about your music and stuff or whatever you're doing, and then you realize, hey, I can do that too because I'll just go on the opposite end of it, right?
That's true. You've got the experience, so now you're like, oh, I know what to do.
It's kind of like that. So hey, let's. I want to. I just as you know, I just roll with it. Um, so I want to know, when did you start playing music? Like when did you start getting into it?
Oh my goodness. Well, besides always listening a lot to music, like I grew up with music clip and much music. I guess like to the French version of much music.
Right,
I
right.
started in '86. It started, and I was already listening to it all day and night. Me and my sister were taping the top 40 on the radio, every weekend. And back in the day, in the late '80s, early '90s, there was a lot of dancing in the music videos.
Yes.
So my sister became a choreographer and a dancer, and I became a musician.
Wow, wow.
I think it influenced her a lot. But as far as like learning an instrument for real and trying to play, I think I was 14.
Okay, okay. And you play bass guitar, right?
Yes,
Yes. And you also play the harp, right? I find
yes, I
that.
would do that.
Yeah, I find that
Okay.
I find that really interesting. Um, made you get into playing the harp? I mean, it's such a unique instrument, right?
It is. Well, I saw a harp demonstration at school when I was 7, and I fell in love. I said, I want to play harp. But then, you tell your parents you want to play violin. They're like, okay, cool, we'll give you violin lessons. But you tell your parents, I want to play harp. They're like, no, you can't do that. So basically what happened is I had wanted to play harp for a very long time, but I couldn't have access to any harp. So, and as a teenager, I just loved the music that was like rock and roll, Britpop, all that kind of stuff in the '90s. So I started playing, really bad guitar at 14. And when I was 17, I found out my high school had harp classes. So I was like, oh my god. So I started playing harp 10 years after I saw that I wanted to. So I'm not as amazing as I could have been. Oh my goodness. But whatever, everything happens for a reason. So
Yeah.
I started at 17.
Okay. Wow. Because like it's so interesting. Like you said, you're into Brit pop and all the '80s and '90s stuff, and it's amazing how you take a classical and you find interest in a classical instrument. I mean, like, at least I think it comes from that period, right? You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. But I mean, that was also something I really loved. I know there was always both, like two things that we would listen to on car rides with the family was either Abbey Road by the Beatles and Water Music and Royal Fireworks music by George Handel.
Yeah.
And so George Friedrich Handel became also one of my biggest loves for music. So I was very much into Baroque music
Oh, right on.
at the same time. So I would listen to that a lot. So I
Wow.
guess
That's so.
two
That.
sides. Like a mini wheat. There's a frosted side, there's a non-sugary side. I guess that's kind of how I am with music.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
hard side, the bass side.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. So do you write, like, you're writing songs? Where do you think your song? Where do you? I know where you take your influences from, but where do you take the songs to? What kind of style do you stay true to you, what you like, or do you mold them in a different way? How do you, when you write a song, how does it come to you, basically?
Do you mean mostly on the harp?
No, on anything, on your bass, on your harp, whatever.
Oh, it depends. I like, for bass guitar, I like writing with people. I find I'm at my best when I get to really write with someone or write to someone's music for bass guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And for harp, it's completely the opposite. I like to be solo, and I do my thing.
Wow. So really, what you do is you sort of like you got that happy medium, right? I mean, you got that side of you that, like you're saying, you get that side where you get to collaborate with people, which is fun, and then you get that side where you get to express yourself through yourself, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. You sort of strike a balance, which is very cool, right? I mean, some people don't do that, right? Some people find that really hard to do, and they either do one or the other. But that's cool that you do that, because that's probably where you get your most satisfaction, out of playing music, is you get to do both, right?
Yeah, and sometimes they overlap. Like during this whole COVID period, it's been hard on a lot of people. Has it been quite hard on you as well?
Yeah, I find myself. It was good too at the same time, because I did a lot of writing. I wrote a lot of songs, and because besides going to work every day, if I wasn't doing that, I was sitting at home writing songs. So I got really into writing a lot of songs and lyrics and stuff, and so I found myself kind of like in the zone. You know what I mean? I was in a zone for a good, until they started lifting things up, and then you got, there's a little more distraction again. There's more distractions. But I found it really good for like focusing, because there was not much you could do. Eat, sleep, and play music and work. That's about it, right?
That's true. Well, I think on my end, I find it quite tough. But one thing that's been, not having the social contact.
Yeah.
And one thing that's been really helping me, along with write my music as usual. I'm a big fan of the Britpop band Slade, and there's this fan group. I'm kind of a nerd, so I'm on the fan group on Facebook, and every month we've been doing this kind of festival where everybody who's a musician covers a piece, like one of their songs,
yeah,
and shares it. And so I've been arranging their music for solo harp, and it's been so much fun to do that I'm actually trying to record. So you got an exclusive. I'm trying to record a little EP of the Slade covers.
Oh, very cool.
Before the end of the year.
That's very cool. Because I like Slade too. Noddy Holder, right? That's the singer, right? What a great voice.
Oh, Slade, the singer is Brett Anderson.
Okay, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. That is so cool. Wow. Yeah,
It's funny because there's also another piece that I'm going to release shortly, which is just like a solo piece that I wrote basically a friend of mine gave me one of her paintings, and it's so vibrant and amazing that I thought I want to write that as music.
Oh wow!
So I got to do that earlier in the year, and I recorded it, and now it's being mastered, and so I'll have a couple things to release before the end of the year.
That is so cool. Wow. I know that's so you're finding time even during this screwed up period in time. You're a nice way of putting it, but you're finding time to be creative, right? And that must yeah, and it helps on the stress level too, right? You know what I mean? Like it takes the stress off because we've got somewhere to go,
That's true, and it doesn't. I guess it's different, like when you play in a rock band, when I play with the punk band that I'm in, Reckless Beach.
Yes.
When we play as a band, right now we haven't even really rehearsed together in months, and I feel like with that band, not having the public, not having shows, it's kind of a bummer. That's kind of what drives you. But for my solo harp stuff, it doesn't really matter because people aren't really that interested in solo harp music, so I really do it for myself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I think what you're doing on the solo harp thing is amazing. I do. Because the thing is, like, nobody's doing that. Like, not a lot of people are doing that. I mean, you might find, different people throughout Canada or the U.S. or somewhere, or, in Europe. I'm sure a lot of people who, like play harp, right? I mean, you'll find them, and through the internet and stuff. But I'm sure that what you're doing, here in Vancouver, there can't be a lot of you guys playing harp. I mean, there's probably you and maybe two other people and a guy on the VSO. You know what I mean?
Well, how to say that? It's just there. A lot of people when they have hard music out there, they often sing, and that's something that I don't want to do with my music.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, exactly.
I feel like I kind of have less of an edge because a lot of people like when there's actual live singing. But I feel as soon as, even if there's 1,000 harp players out there, as soon as you start writing original material, you're never doing something else, the exact same thing that someone else is doing.
Yeah.
So you're always going to be your own thing if you write your own material.
That's right.
So everybody has a space. Everybody has the right to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So talking about your band, you probably were you guys writing and stuff before the pandemic hit in?
Yeah, with Reckless Beat, we were just about to start recording, and then we had ideas for music videos and stuff like that. And then some of the recording can happen now, but we just kind of need to tighten things, I think, together.
Yes.
First.
Yes.
So because of COVID, we haven't been able to meet all of us together.
Yeah.
So hopefully at some point soon we will do that again, because it's always great. It's such a fun band. We just jump around and
you have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like when you go to a Twitch show, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
If you go to a Reckless Beat show, you're going to have a good time. Our bands should play together someday.
We got to do that when it gets back to it. I mean, things are slowly. We've been doing a lot of streaming. We just started to get into doing streaming. So there's a guy out in Langley called Dale, and he's a country music guy, but he has everybody, and it's called Dale's Jam Shack, and we just went out there last week, and we've streamed, and he has, we ended up getting about 300 listeners, right? I mean, streaming, yeah, and it almost was like, hey, this is better than playing a concert, playing a bar, because like you got 300 people, and you're getting people like from Japan, we had people from Nigeria, and we had Italy, France. So there's something to say about streaming, because a lot of people are starting to get into it, and we're wanting to do more of it, because I think that's, even if everything comes back live-wise, I'm at some point, I think the streaming is going to be still, a major thing that people will be doing, because it just seems you can reach people all over the world, right? It's kind of interesting.
That's true, and I guess if you've got someone helping with, like, the chat room, for example, you can directly interact with your fans that way.
That's true. Yeah, we did do that the other day, too. What we did is we did it before we went on, and we talked to people and got people to tell people, and we spread the word, and it was so much easier, and I mean, at the end of the day, you're kind of going like, gee, why didn't we do this a long time ago? And now we're thinking, well, I guess there's no time like the present, right? Because of the way things are, but we've got a couple more streaming shows coming up, and we're actually going like, that's great, and then by the time we keep doing that, the hard part is you're doing that, but we're constantly writing now a lot, but we don't. It's hard to split the time between the writing and the live shows sometimes, so we got to strike that balance. We haven't struck that balance yet, because we just got back to rehearsing again ourselves. So I think we've been probably a month and a half. We've been back together, almost 2 months, right?
Oh, that must have been so good. I can't wait to jam again.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great initially. Yeah, right off the bat, you go like, boy, I didn't think I missed this. And then you go, wow, I missed this a lot, right? This is fun. Yeah, you start to miss it, and then you start to realize how much you actually do like playing, right?
I know, and I'm like, I feel like I'm forgetting my bass lines, because I have to admit, when I'm at home, I play harp, I don't play bass.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I haven't picked up my bass in a couple months by now. Oopsies.
Oops, yeah. So when you guys finish so it sounds like when you guys do you write your songs, you go right through it. Do you pick certain songs, or you have it much figured out what you're going to record? Like, do you do a whole album, or do you 2 or 3 songs? What do you do? Like some people, like we record, we're only doing singles, because people singles seem to be the big thing these days, right? And we go to singles, but some people do whole albums, right? Do you do albums or singles?
Oh, it depends. Like, I'm just gonna put the bass player hat on. So with Reckless Beach, in any iteration of the band has existed for about 3 years now, I think. So we have enough material for a full album. So we're hoping to at least do an EP, depending on finances. And when it comes to harp playing, it really depends. I think I go like. The first album, I had a concept because I've been here for, by then, 13 years because I'm originally from close to Montreal in Quebec.
Right.
So for me, I had like in my head a whole, like, I have colors in my head, I have emotions, and it was all about missing, like being uprooted. So I had a number, I even had like title of the song, number, like you name it. So, and when it came to do like the photo, I had idea for the cover. So it was very much of an album thing. The second album I kind of rushed to do because I did it for my father who was having pancreatic cancer surgery.
Oh.
I wanted him to, because he's my biggest fan. I'm probably my only fan.
No.
And he told me he likes to listen to my music, like when he was going to his doctor's appointment and made him feel better. And so that made me cry. And I said, well, I'll write you a whole new album just for you for the hospital stay. And I did I had some ideas already of little tunes that I had done. And one tune was a song that he wrote on the piano that I covered. So I did that last year, a little bit rushed, but that was my second album. It was a full 6-song, I think, album. And then, and I'm happy to say my dad is now cancer-free. So
Good.
Yeah, and this year now, I was just planning to release that one single, as you say, that is based on my friend's painting. But now with all the sweet covers I've been doing, I'm like, I'm going to do an EP. And then I have now a new idea for at least 2 more albums in my head. But I think they're mostly albums as opposed to singles. Sorry, that was a long answer to a simple question. I'm sorry.
No, that's what we're here for. No, that's what we're here for. That's cool. So also, like what in my question, what I'm trying to say too, like you also mentioned that you're looking at video concepts and stuff like that. So you guys go rather deep, right? You get right into it and try to figure out where you're going to go, right? That's what I sort of get, right?
Oh, for the bass playing, like I'm not the main songwriter in that band. I
right.
Play bass.
You share it, yeah.
So I play bass to Mark's great tunes, or we all jam it together in the studio. And for us, it's more like we're a fun band, so we're thinking like, wouldn't that be fun to do that? So we're thinking about concept, but after the fact.
Oh, right.
And as far as the harp stuff goes, I don't know if you do that. Sometimes I see colors when I play music.
Right.
So to me, like certain sounds have certain colors or certain feels. So as I write a song, that kind of goes into it, which means that it's not just the music, it's music and colors, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
then
it makes total sense. Yep. No, it makes sense. Yeah.
So when it comes to like having artwork, well, then it has to be a certain way.
That's cool. That's very cool. So now, what are you like now? You're just working on the harp stuff, like you said. You got to pick the bass up and stuff, and and so what's going to come first? I guess the harp stuff comes first. I guess, eh?
Yeah, so there's that one single that is being mastered that's going to come out hopefully within a month.
Oh, good.
And then maybe before the EP as well. I'm not too sure. I picked out a little self-recording device at Long & McQuaid, and I thought, can I record myself? And actually, I can.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound too bad. I mean, when I'll do a full big album, again, I'll go to a proper studio like I did for this single. But for covers, I think it's okay to do it at home. I might have a guest on this album as well. So it's just trying to figure stuff out and trying to record myself, see what I can do.
See that isn't that interesting? It's like, see, because of this COVID thing that's going on, you went down and found a piece of recording equipment and dealt with it yourself. And I did the same thing. I found that there's a lot of things that I would not do by myself, and now I'm finding like, I can do this stuff by myself.
I don't know. We have no choice. We got to do it at home.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you discover a whole new side of yourself, because you have to be more dependent on yourself. You know what I mean? Like, there's no two ways about it, right?
That's true, but I do miss, like, if you go in a real studio and having proper mic.
Oh, yes.
The instruments can sound so much better, but it depends what you want to do, you know?
Yeah, it does. So that's interesting. So what I was going to ask you next is so in your musical journey, so I guess you guys are just like you're going forward even though this pandemic thing's on, and like you said, it's been interesting. Now when you get back out, I guess you're going to start looking at performing again yourself, whether it's with both probably. Eh? Do you perform with the harp by yourself too? Do you do shows?
Not really. Because,
No.
Again, I find that it's boring for some people. Because some people, they hear the sound of the harp and it's like, oh, it's you know,
Yeah.
fall asleep.
Yeah.
And so I don't really know where. I did a concert when I released my first album, and
Right.
I usually play care facilities, which I don't right now, of course.
Yes.
But that's kind of all I do with the harp. You know, I play some weddings and stuff like that. For my own music, if I had, like, I don't know, I just think I'm not cool enough. I just write instrumental harp stuff. So you know, it's mostly for, I guess, for myself, and I'll record an album here and there. And yeah.
That's
But,
cool. Now I've met you down in L.A. I met you now.
Yes, that's stuff. I was gonna actually bring it up, like, because we never got to really interact because you were busy with people and I was busy at the booth. So
I figured so. Yeah, I know. I was wanting to hang out and have a drink or a bite to eat, right? And it just between you were busy doing the booth and I was with some friends who owns a couple music stores and they were busy, doing all their wheeling and dealing, right? So it was.
Mhm.
But that must be an interesting scenario. I mean, I imagine that isn't going to happen this year, coming up. But
That's true. But I haven't done NAM for 2 years now. I have to say,
okay.
Yeah, because well, it's a funny story. Do you have time for a funny story?
I do have time for a funny story. Yes.
Okay. So my way to NAM. So basically how I got to NAM is that I think I grew up loving all the so-called hair metal bands. I love them still.
Yeah.
And because it's the energy, they're so raw and like the riffs are amazing, and I love that kind of stuff. So I always dreamt of going to NAM.
Yeah.
And as a musician, so I'm assuming you as well, right?
Yeah.
And I was at the music store in my hometown, just visiting over Christmas about like 7 years ago. Goodness, a long time ago. And my friend at the music store says, "Hey, guess what? I'm going to NAM." And I said, "What? Can I come with you? What is going on?" He says, "Well, a friend of mine has a booth because he's a dealer of music instruments there, and I'm doing his photography." And I'm like, "Can you talk to him for me? I will work for free, and I will go there on my own if he gives me a pass." And he's like, "Oh, really? I'll check." So the guy calls me and he's like, "Hey, if you want to work for free at my booth, come on." So I ended up at NAM. Like, it's so funny with it, like, and it was with like a dealer of bass and all kinds of stuff, but not like super high-end stuff and electronics and nothing that I knew of, but I was like happy, and I was wearing, I got there with my little dress with cherries on. It was a whole bunch of dudes in black t-shirts looking at me like, what is she doing there? But it was a lot of fun. I got people at the booth. I made them laugh, and so I had a great time. And in my little breaks, I went around and I annoyed George Lynch because I love him.
George.
Yeah, I have so many pictures of me with semi-annoyed celebrities because I'm like super fan. And then I ended up downstairs, as you saw us with the
Yeah.
And then I see Harpsichord Harps and Reeve Harps, which is a company that I love. So I was like, "Oh my God, you guys!" So I started talking to them at the booth how much I love their instruments, and then I try on some of their harps, which are like nice portable harps on the harpsichord side and colorful. And then I was playing it, and people came to the booth, and I started entertaining everybody and talking about how much I love this instrument and my story with it, and I go busking with it. And then people were all interested, and I stayed there for like 20 minutes. And after people left, the guy at the booth looked at me, and he's like, "Can you work for us next year?" And I said, "Absolutely." But he said, "But don't pay me because I'm Canadian, and I don't want to get into trouble." trouble because you're an American company. So they're like, okay, well, if, we'll put you up in a hotel with us, and, your meals, like, will be covered because you're eating with us, and come in. So for 4 years after that, I was there.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, and after that, 2 years ago, I got shingles, so I couldn't go.
Oh, no.
So that's okay. There's another amazing artist who does hip-hop and singing, and her name is Lyrica Holmes. She is amazing. So she's kind of been one of their brand ambassadors. So she's the one who now does what I did, and she's been doing it for a couple years. They still send me a pass, but I don't go anymore.
Oh, interesting. That was
so that was a long story. I told you.
No, it was a good story. It's interesting because do you know the story about when Troy was in the band, and we ended up in where was it? We ended up in Dakota to do a show. Well, we were going down to L.A. Funny, so we were talking about L.A. So we were going to L.A. and Troy forgot his guitars.
Oh no.
Yeah, so we're in Dakota and he's got no guitars. So this bar that we're playing is a huge, like, kind of a concert venue type place. It's like a Commodore. And anyways, we're sitting there and there's guitars on the wall everywhere, right? And from artists that have played there. So Troy and I try to see if we can find a music store open where we can rent a guitar, and it's a Saturday, and the stores are closing early, and they're not going to be open Sunday. And so we talk to the promoter, and we tell the promoter, we got a problem. Troy forgot his guitars, and he can get them tomorrow, like he's going to get somebody to bring them down to Seattle, but we got nothing for today. And so we said, can we take one of the guitars off the wall? So, and try it out. And he talks to the owner. The owner says, yes, no problem. Go ahead. So we take the guitar off the wall, and it's a pink guitar.
Whose guitar was it?
It's George Lynch's.
Ah! Mr. Scary.
So,
oh my God.
So we take the guitar off and we play it, right? So it works. So we play it. So the next day, we go back to Seattle, and we get his guitars. His friend brought his guitars. We keep going on our trip. So anyways, we filmed it, right? We videotaped it, and we put it up on the net. And when we were in L.A. and we're playing at the Hard Rock in Los Angeles, who came into the gig? George Lynch came.
No way.
And
what? He just said, give me back my guitar.
Yeah, he did. He says, you guys got my guitar?
What?
Yeah, and we said, no, it's back at the club with the club owner. He goes, oh, okay. He says, yeah, I was following you guys after that. I was following all your videotapes and everywhere you've been playing. He goes, I like your band, right? And we started laughing, right? So it was kind of fun.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That is much better than my George Lynch story.
No, it's cool because see the connection. Like you met George, and I met George also at the Nom too, because I know he hangs out there. He goes there quite a bit, right? So he was there quite a bit. A lot of people, like you said, a lot of famous heavy guitar players and a lot of musicians there. That's for damn sure, right?
Oh yeah, in my little music studio where I'm talking from right now, there's like right in front of me my Billy Sheehan signed passes from them a couple of years ago.
Right on.
Because he's always there, and he's just so good and so gracious.
Yes, yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah,
it's almost like someone posted like a NAM bingo, like sightings of people or things that you do when you're at NAM. It's almost like you get to tick off a few things. Oh, I saw Billie Sheehan. I saw George Lynch. I saw Stevie Wonder. I saw that. Wow.
I know, that's wild. That is wild. Unreal. So I'm going to let you go, Mylle.
Thanks so much for calling. Thank you for doing this. And I know that, even though I kind of sound like a chipmunk.
No, you don't.
Do that.
It was good. It's nice talking to you, and it's like I've watched you play in the band, and I like the band, and your harp playing. I find it very interesting. I mean, maybe one day I'll write a piece, and I'd like to have you record the harp in it. And
oh, that would be fun.
I know. I mean, I find you very creative, and I enjoy when I see you. So it's always fun talking to you too. So we'll stay in touch, and you know what, you know, things will lighten up, and when it is, we'll do a gig together.
Yes, that would be awesome.
All right,
Thank
kiddo.
you so much.
You take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye.
All right, that was Mylle, and you know, she's a talented kid, talented young woman. You know, great harp player, harpist, and really cool, good bass player, strong bass player. Looks great on stage. She's got it all, and she writes songs and collaborates like you heard. So check her out, check her band out, and this is Izzy Dakota Jones, 2021, The Art of Doing podcast. Take care.